If you have ever been tempted to hold your employee's last paycheck, this week's video is about why you need to not do that. I understand the temptation. The temptation is maybe your employee has your laptop, has a lot of your tools. Maybe your employee damaged a lot of things in your office before they left or caused a big order to be messed up, and you want to recoup your loss as this employee walks out the door. So here's what brings up the idea for today's video. It's a meme that I ran across on Reddit. I will clean up the introduction of what was said about it, but essentially an upset employee had his last paycheck withheld from a mom and pop grocery store or convenience store and says, I'm quitting and I've reported you to the Department of Labor. The slide on the screen says it a lot more colorfully. This is why that's a problem. This particular business must have believed that it was fine if the employee continued to take unauthorized lunch breaks, that the business could withhold a paycheck, hold the paycheck back in order to get the employee to come into compliance with this rule. The problem is that if you hold your employee's paycheck, then you haven't paid the minimum wage. The Department of Labor takes this very seriously. And here's where the employee is right. If the employer doesn't give a paycheck at all, or just holds on to it and makes it late, then the employee hasn't even received $7.25 an hour, if that's minimum wage where you are. That's the problem, and that's how employers end up getting reported to the Department of Labor when they really, in their minds, had a good reason to keep the money, or at least delay the money. And what happens if you get reported to the Department of Labor isn't just that they look at the one instance that was going on with that paycheck and that employee, but they have the authority to come in and audit all of your books, all of your pay records. And this law is so hard to get right that they might find mistakes going back 2 or even 3 years. They have that authority. And then you can be faced with a large fine. And really, what business wants the Department of Labor coming in and auditing their books? Plus, you'll only get a few days' notice, if that much. So what are you supposed to do if your employee is holding onto your property, has already quit, paychecks are due, and they just are ignoring your request to bring back your property? Well, I've been through this with a lot of employers in my law practice, and what I tell them to do is just call the police. And maybe short of calling the police, just tell the employee that you're going to call the police. And that tends to get their attention. Tell them what your deadline is, and I bet they will show up or send someone with the laptop, with your tools, with whatever needed to be fixed. That's my answer. Now, if you're the business that's depicted in the meme that I showed earlier, and you're really trying to hold an employee's paycheck to get them to follow a work rule, as opposed to property that they're taking at the end of the employment relationship, then there your option is simply to do the write-ups and go through the steps that I've talked about in some of my other videos that would help you win an unemployment appeal. So I want you to learn the lesson today not to discipline with employees' paychecks. That's going to get you into a lot of hot water. I know that in your business, no one hands you a full employment law manual telling you what you need to know, when you need to know it at the time you get your first business license or the time you hire your first employee. So that's why I do these videos, is to give you a heads up on some of these things to watch out for, things that seem reasonable but can get you in hot water. If you have any questions you want me to address, then shoot me an email, questions@melissamalcolm.com. If you've enjoyed this video, please like it, share it. If you don't like the video, tell me that too. Until next week, believe, lead, and succeed. Thanks.